It's Al Cole from CBS Radio, host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction, and, time out for a little bit of truth here, a little bit of common sense that I think you're going to grab onto. And if you want to grab onto connecting with me after you hear this, feel free. I'll tell you, you can email me at AlColeHolic@gmail.com. That's AlColeHolic@gmail.com. And I really want to thank my CBS Radio listeners for coming up with that handle, AlColeHolic. Yeah, it seemed like from day one, my listeners have been saying, Al, we love what you're doing there, brother. In fact, we're hooked on it. We're AlColeHolics. Hey, and AlColeHolics are sworn to tell the truth here, especially on People of Distinction with Al Cole. Guess what? All right, so Brett Kavanaugh. Yeah, he was sworn to tell the truth, too. Everybody's talking about Brett Kavanaugh. He's in the news. New Supreme Court Justice and some of the national commentators, they're saying, wow, what a victory for the Republican Party and particularly for President Donald Trump. Are they kidding? Time out for a little bit of truth here. Hey, hold the smartphones. Guess what? Did they ever hear the name Dr. Christine Blasey Ford? Before she came on the scene, Brett Kavanaugh was already a shoo-in. Of course, the Democratic members of the committee were saying, wait a minute, we see some spots on this guy. But of course, that in itself would never have changed anything about, debatably, this spotted leopard. But what changed is, all of a sudden, now it's taken a little bit seriously. There's an accusation of some sort of sexual misconduct here against Brett from a lady who's a PhD. And a lady who knew him in high school, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. I mean, after that, you really got to hold your smartphones here because everybody was really shaken by that. Republicans, Democrats, people around the country, especially women. And they were shaking it up in some of the ways that we need to wake up our society. Guess what? You know it. All of a sudden, well, instead of that Wednesday vote that was supposed to confirm, okay, we can't have that Wednesday vote. Everybody was thinking the guy's a shoo-in on Wednesday. Well, no, okay, so on Monday, I guess we'll meet with Dr. Ford in a private meeting. Yeah, and just, hear what she has to say. And then we'll confirm Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court. It didn't quite happen that way. And Monday was then changed to, I believe, a Thursday. A lot of delay here, people, and it is the people talking. It certainly wasn't the Republican Party. It certainly isn't the way that President Donald Trump meant it to be. No. Things are changing here, people. But that's not all. Okay. Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, she helped to restructure the American mentality when it comes down to sexual abuse. Yeah. All of a sudden, it's not just women who are getting on board with that. A lot of the guys like me who have been saying for years, hey, look, you got to stand up for some women's rights here. Women empowerment, if you want to call it. Certainly, do you love your mother? Your mother is in every single woman ever born. Some people would say, well, how's that, Al? You got to explain that one. Who gives birth? Who are the nurturers of society? Women. Without a woman, brother, you ain't born. And some of the brothers might say, well, hell, equal time here. Takes two. Oh, absolutely. But the women are the ones who suffer the labor pains. And those are the pains of love. The labor of love, if you want to put it that way. We're getting back to love here in our society, step by step. And Dr. Christine Blasey Ford's testimony gripped America. And almost everybody said, oh, she's credible. Even if they still wanted Brett Kavanaugh at the Supreme Court level. But now is, hey, let's some time out here. Well, guess what? That's not the only thing that happened. It changed the American mindset in such a way that it actually imperiled Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation. People were saying, well, yeah, I don't know. Hey, there are a few senators that might change their mind on the Republican side. And, of course, Senator Jeff Flake, well, he stood up after being leveled and taken to task by a couple of women in an elevator. just before a very important Senate committee meeting. Coincidence, you ask? I don't know. But I do know that changed history. Yeah, the FBI was brought in. The FBI against President Donald Trump's objections in the first place of bringing the FBI in. Even President Donald J. Trump had acquiesced to pressure. Whoa there. Now, how is that a Republican victory? I mean, would they have wanted it to be that way? Would they have planned it to be that way? Come on. We're making progress here, people. Big progress. The American people spoke. Yeah, a lot of major media came out and pressured it. Big victory there, people. A victory for the people's voices, and particularly women's voices. Let's get real about this. And that FBI investigation, well, it actually happened. Some people might say it wasn't a complete investigation at all. But it happened. Now, that's the first thing. And it might be happening again, and again, and again. And maybe with different people. Maybe also with Brett Kavanaugh. I mean, the two principals, Brett Kavanaugh and Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, for some reason, they weren't questioned by the FBI. Why not? Well, maybe we can't answer that right now, or maybe we can answer it with common sense, but it's not up to me to even mention that right now, even though I did. But it's up to you to reflect on that. And how much has changed since Brett Kavanaugh was a shoo-in. And then, boy, the hullabaloo started. And the American people spoke, especially the American woman. Now, you know and I know that Dr. Ford's testimony has encouraged even women in the public eye to come forth with their own descriptions of sexual abuse in their own lives. Examples? Hey, former CBS anchor Connie Chung and counselor to the President of the United States, Kellyanne Conway, both coming forward. And in the aftermath of abuse allegations against Donald Trump's pick, over 2,000 judges and legal officials have made their opinions clear that Brett Kavanaugh is not fit to be a Supreme Court justice. Even retired Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens has felt the need to come out publicly in a bold and unprecedented statement that Brett Kavanaugh, you guessed it, is not fit to be a Supreme Court justice. Plus, individuals who knew Brett Kavanaugh way back when have stated directly that Mr. Kavanaugh has lied, using their term, lied to the U.S. Senate about his drinking problems, and again, is not fit to be a Supreme Court justice. Now I ask you, doesn't all of this count? Yes, of course it does. And when you put it all together, all this has to be considered a further stain upon the President of the United States himself. A stain, gotta say it, for his unprincipled, unreasonable, dogged ramrodding his nomination for the Supreme Court down the throats of the American people, despite all public protest. A Supreme Court nominee who is now, tragically, a tarnished Supreme Court judge. Now, how do you like that? A sad, sad example of an ever-increasing, intolerable display of political partisanship that the U.S. populace is growing increasingly intolerant of. Believe me, not everything has to be put under the political battle gun of Republican versus Democrat, conservative versus liberal, all the time. Let's try to think and feel like compassionate, common-sense, caring human beings sometimes. I mean, I, for one, am proud of the courageous women and men who have spoken out against this political atrocity and shame perpetuated by some of our so-called public servants. It's time we serve ourselves a little better regimen of human dignity and, yes, distinction in our own very, very deserving American human family. But not only that, all around the world, support for Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. Now, this doesn't come down to one vote of confirmation for a Supreme Court justice. If it did, oh yes, okay, sure, the Republican Party won, because that's really all that they cared about. They didn't care about being dragged through the mud They didn't care about all of the turmoil that they would have to go through and the answering that they would have to make to other accusations. And yeah, if it just came down to a single vote and they said, well, yeah, a couple of weeks is okay, we can delay this thing, well, President Donald Trump would have been very happy with that too, if that were the case. People, it was not the case. And we know that. We know that the real case here is the case that the American people are formulating to get their own agenda out there, the agenda of real democracy, the agenda of, hey, look, we count. We count for something, and those votes count up. And maybe now in November, hey, we'll see the final tally of what was really confirmed with the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation. See, that's how we talk on People of Distinction with Al Cole. Nobody really wants contentiousness in their lives, and we don't really want contentiousness at the highest level of our national political lives. However, we have it, and so we deal with it. And we deal with it straight on, and we deal with it with common sense, people. Let's get back to a little bit of reality. So another reality check from Al Cole from CBS Radio. And People of Distinction means you. It means love. It means caring about your fellow man and woman, heart and soul wise. And that means everybody. Everybody was born a baby of a woman. And that baby came out loving life and saying, wow, I'm here, I made it. I'm alive. Hey. And as long as we have that beautiful innocence of love of that baby who still exists in us, that just is overwhelmed to be alive and to love and to spread the love, we're still in good shape with our human family. And if you like the message, I want you to email me at AlColeHolic@gmail.com. You heard me right. That's AlColeHolic@gmail.com. And I want to thank my CBS Radio listeners for coming up with that handle. Like I said earlier, Al, we love what you're doing there, brother. In fact, we're hooked on it. We're AlColeHolics. And AlColeHolics always spread the love and the truth and even the common sense on People of Distinction with Al Cole. And I love you.